Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along. Which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ziprecruiter.com/zip. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ziprecruiter.com/zip. That's ziprecruiter.com/zip. ziprecruiter.com/zip.
What are the things that are still going in your head that are still important? That's what goes on your 24-hour list. Nothing else. It's not to say that we won't do the other things, but often what we need is we need clarity, because a lot of times with ADHD, we can struggle. We can put things in that aren't that important, aren't that urgent, and we have a ton of ideas.
Step into the world of success with your brand amplified, the ultimate podcast designed to unravel the intricacies of thriving businesses. I'm your host, Annika Jackson, and I'm on a mission to uncover the stories, strategies, and secrets that have propelled entrepreneurs and business leaders to success. I have been waiting for this interview with Skye Waterson because I was diagnosed with ADHD as an adult, just under a decade, had this diagnosis, and I've had to really discover what my boundaries are, where I need to take more time. And I think even in the past few years, I've learned more and more about what I need to do for myself in the world of business. So Skye, I'm really excited. Thank you so much for joining us from Australia and diving into this conversation.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's really great to be here.
So your story is that you were getting your PhD and you were diagnosed with ADHD. Can you tell us a little bit about that whole journey?
It even rhymes. It felt like a lot at the time. So I had been in academia my whole life. That was the direction that I was going. And I had, I knew something was off, because sometimes I was great and sometimes I crashed out so hard that I took a year off and needed a break from, everything. And when I decided to start my PhD, I was like, okay, well, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to figure out what's going on, what's happening. And I was told after a series of tests and a lot of questions that they thought I should get tested for ADHD, which was a huge surprise. I taught, and learned about ADHD and psychology. That's what I studied, but it was very much at the time something that you had when you were a kid, and it wasn't really discussed as an adult at the time.
Yeah. And that's the funny thing. It was when I was having a conversation with a friend who had it about my brother and how annoyed I was at some things that he was doing as an adult who's known for a long time. And she just took a look at me and said, you know that you also have this. And I had to think, like, oh, my life makes so much more sense now. And I think, I don't know that anybody would have ever thought, because I'm not usually like jumping all over the place. I look really calm and organized, but internally, or when I'm by myself, it's that going from one thing to another. And I have tried using different kinds of planners and strategies, I think that are more neurotypical. But then I've had to really embrace, I'm also in academia, so I've had to embrace this to figure out how would I want to learn to make it interesting in the classroom for my students, for one thing, right? But then also in the world of business, how do we keep from those distractions? And then when we work from other people or for other people, how do we make sure that we are setting the right expectations? Because like you, I've had times when I just have to sit and do nothing, when I have so many things going on that the self-regulation is gone. And the things that I have to do probably don't look like a typical workday for people. So I'd love for you to unpack, how this took you to the work, this diagnosis took you to the work that you're doing today and what that looks like.
Yeah. So fast forward half a decade later, I now work with business owners and directors. So anybody who's in that management position, ADHD bosses, we call them, who are struggling with the systems, because maybe you get support and you learn, okay, a planner doesn't work for me. I need this particular kind of support for my working memory, for my time blindness. But then you get to the next level and you're working you're the team lead, you're running projects, you're taking care of other people's needs. And there is no rule book for that right now. Like there is nothing for that. So my job is I have obviously I keep my academic roots and I do journal research into how our brain works and leadership and all of those kinds of things. I take those strategies and I teach them to people. Specifically, I help people grow their revenue. So I've had people in my program who have been able to grow their revenue sort of more than double it in 2 weeks working using these systems. So they can work really fast. But like you said, it's 100% about making those adjustments and accepting and acknowledging that we're not going to work in the same way as other people. And that way is often just, taking out so much time and energy that is not necessary.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you don't mind sharing some of what brought you to deciding that this was the group of people you wanted to work with, because I know we have our business hat, but we also have all of our other hats. So I'm a single mom. My daughter is going to graduate from high school. So I'm really busy trying to get her ready for that. I'm a dog mom. I have aging parents who live in a different continent. I'm a partner, a friend. I am a teacher, a podcaster, a business owner, work with other businesses. So all of those things, it can really get hard to narrow down focus. And I imagine that's a lot of what you find.
Yeah. And I think it's a bit of a personal reason for me. As an academic, it's a very glamorous job to some people. It's not to me, obviously, because I did it. But, it was a very, in many ways, insecure part of my life. I was living as a, assistant, tutoring, that kind of thing, working semester to semester, contract to contract. And so I just didn't have the financial stability that I needed really to get support for, we could talk about getting an assistant. We can talk about using AI or Grammarly or something like that to help us. But if you don't have those resources, you can't really do much. So for me, I'm really passionate about helping people with ADHD get the resources they need, because so often when you look at the statistics, yes, we are more likely to go into entrepreneurship, but we're also more likely to get paid less than everybody else. And a lot of that has to do with that lack of focus, that sort of shiny object syndrome. It really does affect us financially. I believe that nobody should have to experience that. We should all be able to work to the potential that we want and have that financial stability so that we can be amazing partners, amazing parents, taking care of family, doing things that we love. And that's why I focus on this, because I believe this is the groundwork for all of the other pieces.
Yeah. Yeah. So it really was for your own self to figure out your systems, processes, and also be able to make more money. And,
Yeah.
A lot of times people have processes that they bring to the table and they're like, this is the formula that will work for everybody. But you mentioned a few different strategies. So how do you determine? And I did go on your website and download something. I just haven't looked at it yet and taken the whole time. But I'm really excited to, because I'm constantly on that, like, let me buy this planner or that planner, or read this book or figure it out. So how did you come across a construct that can work? Obviously, you're also tailoring solutions, but that could work for many people.
Yeah. Definitely. That's a great question. I love that question, because I think a lot of times people are, at the moment, they have tip fatigue. They're like, don't give me another tip. I don't want one. Like, I have 100. I open my phone and it's just like tips forever. So I only teach about 6 different strategies, and then we go deep on those systems and strategies. And they're based on academic research. So when you ask me and when you look at my podcast, which is where I share a lot of that research so everyone has it, disseminated it and all that kind of stuff, it's all based on neuroscience, into how the brain works, research into how the brain works, very boring stuff. But then it transitions into practical strategies. And I've been teaching a lot of these strategies now 4 or 5 years across, I've had clients who work at Google. I've had clients who run multi-million-dollar businesses, and we've tested it many, many times. So for me, the program that I teach now, Focus, Balance, Growth, comes from that combination of research and then test it with a lot of people. And then once I'm confident it's working in a variety of situations and it's been research backed, that's when I provide it to everybody. So that's kind of the basis for what I do. And I will say, but I am very happy, by the way, to share the strategies. I love giving them away. So I'm happy to do that now.
Yeah. Bring them on.
Well, I think the first one, so the one that you've downloaded, actually anybody can download that. You can just DM me on Instagram at Unconventional Organization. You can DM me brand, and it will be the 2-minute focus formula. So don't let Anika fool you. It is 2 minutes if you read it. But basically, one of the biggest struggles we have is that we tend to go in and we have a million fires. So many business owners are like this. They'll start the day and they'll say, I literally think I have 100 things to do. Like, I have so many things going on. Everything is urgent. Everybody wants my attention. How am I supposed to focus on the most important needle moving tasks, which, spoiler alert, is kind of how we grow a successful, financially, good business. And so what I do is I help you do that using a system called the prioritization filter. The first thing we want to do is we just want to brain dump everything that is in our heads into a space that we're going to use again. So it could be a Google Doc, it could be a journal. I do this sometimes with people, and it takes, sometimes a couple of minutes just to get it all out, but it feels so good because your working memory is kind of overloaded, and we need that space to be like, what if we did this? What if we did that? Like kind of having those creative ideas, which is what we're great at. And then once we've written it all down, so it's out of our head, it's on paper, you want to look at that list and you want to say, what actually has to happen tomorrow, or there will be a negative external consequence. And for people who struggle with that idea of like, okay, well, there's kind of a consequence, I feel bad, I actually have a little visualization that I do. It's a bit dramatic, but bear with me, which is that imagine you end up in a waiting room somewhere. You end up in a waiting room, your day goes sideways, and you are like, okay, this is my day. This is what we're doing today. We've all had those days sometimes. What are you still going to get done on your phone? Or at least contact somebody and say, hey, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to do this because I'm not going to be prepped for it tomorrow. What are the things that are still going in your head that are still important? That's what goes on your 24-hour list. Nothing else. It's not to say that we won't do the other things, but often what we need is clarity, because a lot of times with ADHD, we can struggle. We can put things in that aren't that important, aren't that urgent, and we have a ton of ideas. So it's not like our list ever ends.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along. Which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/zip. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/zip. That's ZipRecruiter.com/zip. ZipRecruiter.com/zip.
Shop the Sherwin-Williams Labor Day sale and get 35% off paints and stains August 22nd through September 4th. With prices starting at $31.84, it's the perfect time to transform your space with color. Whether you're looking to revamp your interior or exterior, we have you covered with bold hues, soothing neutrals, and everything in between. Visit your neighborhood Sherwin-Williams store or shop the sale online. Delivery available on qualifying orders. Click the banner to learn more. Retail sales only. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
This is so true.
Yeah. So that's the first thing, is to get all of that. And then that gives you more time and freedom to work. And one of the next things I teach people is, okay, what is the most important thing you have to do? What is that needle mover task? What does that look like for you?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think part of the issue, right, is when you do have ADHD, as you mentioned, we have many ideas all the time, and we may be doing many jobs because we have so many interests. And I found him at the point where I'm like, now I see how they all tie together, and I can become more focused and more, niche down a little bit more, but I still have to have a roadmap to get there. And in the meantime, there may be urgent things I need to do in each area. So how do I then take that list and prioritize that if I feel like I have 5 major projects that still need to get done in the next 24, 48 hours?
We put them all in the same list. This is something that I think I forget sometimes. People don't do this because it's so natural to me now, but from a neurotypical, so people who don't have ADHD, right? There's a standpoint that we categorize things. But when you're ADHD, categorizing things is pretty annoying because of the working memory struggles. And also, what is a homework? Like, it's all happening. For us, we categorize things based on time. Do I have to do it now, or do I have to do it not now? Yeah. So when you're making that list, I want that list to include everything, like, the dog that you have to take to the vet, like all of it. And then we look at what's truly urgent. I will say I have done this now for several years with many, many people. And especially when I started out, I would literally sit with people and do this with them. I never had anyone go over 5 tasks. Nice. People are often really surprised by that. But when you really look at what is urgent, and I don't include, obviously make dinner, things like that. Those are habits, and we have a different system for managing habits. But the tasks you have to do, the individual tasks, I've never had anyone go over 5.
Wow. Okay, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
Yes, tell us more.
Well, it's interesting. So basically what I do is, I help people grow their revenue by growing their focus. Basically, I help you get yourself focused, get your time back, which is the next thing you need to do, and then grow consistent revenue. And that's what I help people do. And it's amazing to see what you can do when you're working in that order. Once we've gotten focused, so we know what we actually have to do, and we have a goal for our business, and we know what we want to grow in, and maybe want to focus on brand, and that's what we need to do and all that kind of stuff. The next question is, okay, but I don't want to do
it. Guilty.
Yeah. And that is something that so many people tell me. And that's a huge part. You will never, ever, ever find in a non-ADHD business space, which is why I love running this program, a section dedicated to what if you just really don't want to do that thing? Because the expectation is, well, now it's really important. Now it's going to help your business. You need to do it. I've sat down with clients who have multi-million-dollar businesses and been like, cool. So in fact, I did it this week. Your entire business hinges on the ability to do this one task that's not particularly complicated. It was like, organizing a space. And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, and you don't want to do it? And they're like, yeah. So there's 3 main reasons. It's not just you. It's dopamine levels. Go into the neuroscience behind it all, but just know it's not just you. It is your brain. And there's 3 different reasons that we struggle with this. One is it's just too boring. The dopamine is not there. The second one is it's too confusing. I actually don't have a working memory sense of the steps involved. And when I think about it, I just get stressed and overwhelmed, and I want to go do something else. And then the third one is it's emotionally vulnerable. The last time I did this, somebody said something. I was rejected. I don't like being rejected, especially if you're struggling with, ADHD symptoms that can be closely aligned for a variety of reasons. So those are the 3 things, the reasons that we don't do something. So what I've developed is a step into focus routine. And again, many, many years of research and working on this with many people that takes you from I don't want to, no way, no how, no thank you, to doing the task in about 15 to 20 minutes. We work through each of those steps. We go, okay, this is what you need to do to deal with the fact that it's boring. We start with a reward. A lot of people don't realize how helpful that is with ADHD. Don't wait for the end. you and I know that's not going to make a difference. Our brain's just going to be like, this sucks. Why are we doing it? And now I get a reward. I don't understand what's going on. So we want to start with some kind of reward for starting. And we talk about like what makes a good reward, because obviously I'm sure you guys are thinking about all the ones that wouldn't work. So we don't do those. And then we talk about breaking it down to support your working memory, how to do that, what that looks like. And then we have specific strategies for the emotionally vulnerable part. And you can get to a point, and I've seen many, many people do this, where they can block out time to work on something important, and then they can actually do it during the time they blocked out, which for so many people is one of the reasons that they don't build momentum.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, you are so speaking my language. And when you're in a relationship or you have friends who are neurotypical, they don't understand this. Like, I know my boyfriend looks at the way I organize or, as disorganized, but I know where things are and I know why they're specifically there. And when I'm done, I will get rid of it or put it away or whatever needs to happen. But he also doesn't understand the idea of rewarding myself and how knowing that little thing is coming, and it can be something really small that will help organize my house or just make it pretty or whatever the case may be. Right. And he doesn't work like that. Like, so when sometimes we're working on something together and he will want to just finish a task completely from start to finish. And I cannot do that. And it drives me crazy. And I have to take little breaks. And I'm not meaning to make this all about my ADHD, but I think these are things that I'm hearing are common with people, probably based on the work that you've done.
Yeah, we work really differently. And often when I work with people, what they'll find is, one, it gives them their time back, which is massive. A lot of people come super overwhelmed and they're like, now I have to do another thing. It's like, no, this is a thing that's going to help you get your time back very, very quickly, which is massive. And then the next thing is they're like, this feels easy. People sometimes come and they think, oh, this is going to be so difficult. Oh, this is going to, okay, fine. Take me away. Make me do the thing. Like, I'm ready. And it's like, actually not true. This is the simplest, most fun, easiest system that you can have because it's designed specifically for your brain. And the thing you're doing currently isn't. And that is often what people don't understand.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Well, you have great frameworks. You've obviously helped people. You've built your own business into a multi-six-figure business. What was it like going from the world of academia into saying, I'm going to start this as a business using all of this knowledge I have, and then creating a brand for yourself, marketing it and finding the right clients? And you are up very early in Australia. You said that it's because a lot of your work is in the United States and other places.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's definitely been a journey, I would say, in terms of the academia. So alongside my PhD that I was doing, my boyfriend, now husband, was running a frozen food business. And that for me was kind of where I got the business bug a little bit, because I was like, oh, let me help you. Let me see what this is doing. And one of the things that he got was support for business development. So he got to go to some business courses, how it all works. I was like, oh, I'll come along. I want to know what's going on in this area. And that really laid the foundation for me of understanding a little bit more about how business works, so that when COVID happened and that business got shut down by the government, obviously you can't sell food. That was when I was like, and also what I was doing, because at that time I was working in schools, helping people with ADHD, teaching. That was when I really went online and was like, okay, well, I want to keep doing what I do. And also, we no longer have a business, so we have a lot more time and energy for other things. Let's look into what I can do online. And that's when I found coaching. I really would consider myself more of an ADHD business strategist now, but like at the time, coaching was kind of what we were all doing. And I think the biggest shift, honestly, if I was to think about the two things that I did, because I started it and then very quickly I just made two decisions that changed my whole business life. One is I hired an assistant just for 5 hours a week, very small. She was amazing. I was so lucky. Now I teach people how to find amazing assistants. But at the time, oh my gosh, I got so lucky. I had no idea what I was doing. She still works in the business to this day. Wow. So she's been here for 5 years at this point, which is amazing. And then the other side of it was I got a mentor. The wonderful John Torrens from Syracuse University. He no longer does one-on-one, sorry guys, but he has ADHD and he ran $1 million business, and we chatted and I said, okay, I'd love to be your client. And then he told me how much it was and I was like, okay, no, I'm still cool. Because, it was an investment, but it was so worth it. I would never, and this is why I'm so passionate in many ways about helping other people, is he really opened my eyes up to what this could be. I was just thinking small. I was getting my first paychecks that weren't semester and feeling pretty happy with myself. And he was like, okay, cool. So do you want to hire other people? Like, what are we doing? Like, where are we going with this? And that was amazing and really opened my eyes. So shout out to him. He's been on my podcast recently. We had a fun chat about things. He's coming full circle now. He's starting his own podcast and things like that. And it was really good. And, having mentors like John, and then obviously now I am a business mentor for people myself. It's been a game changer because at the end of the day, I see it all still as I'm still in uni. I'm still learning, still developing, still trying to get good grades in my classes of like, now I'm doing Facebook advertising. Now I'm doing, business promotion. Now I'm doing Instagram. Like, it's just continual learning. And so having somebody who's been on the journey before, who can tell you the direction to go in. I mean, gosh, if I was left alone with social media, I would never get anything done because there's a million people giving you advice and you have no idea which one you're supposed to do.
Yeah. I've been having a lot of the same thought with business. I'm like, I haven't been focusing on my social. I don't have time for it. But then if I did this, this, and this, it would make it easier. But then you have to take the time to put those systems into place. And I think that's also where we can get hung up is like, we know we need to build in these systems that will make life so much better. But even that mental hurdle of carving out the time, prioritizing it, right?
Exactly. And that's what people like about what I do. I mean, I'm starting something. I don't know when this comes out, but, when you start working with me, the first thing we do is we do a 30-day focus to profit challenge. So we sit down, you do a one-on-one with me. We go through your biggest business struggles. We unblock those. And then from there, I actually have a little contract that we do. And we say like, this is what you're focusing on. This is your 80-20. And then you have a lot of really structured support during the first 30 days, because we want you to double your revenue in the first 30 days from the last month. We want you to get to that place because once you've done that, again, you have the resources, then you can grow, then you can add people, you can be a lot more sustainable. And also you just are like, oh my gosh, it works. It can work. And so for a lot of people, they come to me because they want that sort of like focus. They want to be having that accountability, having that support, and knowing that they can kind of relax in some ways because they're not sitting there like struggling with the shiny object syndrome and all of those pieces.
Yeah. Yeah. Fantastic. So what does your day-to-day look like? Because I know there are so many people, I'm sure, who want these services. How do you delineate your time now?
That's a good question. And it's honestly a moving target because, I'll have a certain amount of one-on-ones and then it gets to this year. I was like, this is my maximum. And then I got to the middle of the year and I was like, well, that's not a number. Like everyone is in my maximum. So do I just shut up shop for one-on-ones? Do I keep more people? So it's a bit of a moving target, but I have essentially got it down now to a space where in the morning, the first thing that I do is my own 80-20. So everything that I teach, and I think this is really important, is I struggle with ADHD. I have ADHD. Sometimes people are like, do you still struggle with it? I'm like 100% of the time. And so I still do my own system. So I'm doing prioritization filter. I'm focusing on my 80-20 first thing in the morning. Then I'm having, clients and obviously these wonderful podcasts as well. We have space for that. We talk about that. I love podcasts. And then, sometimes I'll do sales calls depending on the person and if they need one. And then for me, from like 9 o'clock for like the next 2 hours, it's family just because of the way I work. So I have 2 little kids. I have a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old. And, my husband works from home as well. So we'll all be hanging out around about that time. And then I'm sort of back in doing my 80-20 and focusing. And I don't do any meetings on Mondays. That's the other thing. So I have like a meeting free day where I can just be like comfy and like get a bunch of writing done, things like that. So having these like chunks of time for different things has been really massive. I understand how quickly your life can just become a series of meetings that you go to. And it's really important to avoid that. And I've struggled with that, especially I think every time you grow to another level of your business, it's like another thing creeps in that you're like, oh, this is fine. And then you're like, this is not, this is not a good use of my time. So you have to keep working on it. But again, that's what I teach, is like how to visualize your business. We have a system called the SOP pipeline, which helps take that idea of now you have to put systems and processes in place, make it really fun, really visual, because a lot of times we can struggle sometimes to see our business and we can kind of throw things against the wall and it feels like we're driving with the headlights off really fast. So I help people sort of see the business, unblock that, delegate to other people, do that sustainably. All of those little pieces help you as you grow because, you know, I want you to be successful. I want you to be successful. And then I want you to be like, oh, being successful has its own problems that are ADHD specific. And then I want to solve those so you can be more successful.
Well, and you said growing sustainably. And earlier you talked about hiring an assistant for 5 hours. And then I'm sure it's gone up since then. How do you make sure you're hiring the right people? Because that is something I've overhired because people are nice. They're going to fit my business. And then I have to figure out a place for them. And then I'm not paying myself enough, or I've not staffed up enough, and realize. So then those are both two different issues. But
yeah, it really is a moving target because you can overhire, you can overleverage, and you can underhire. It happens all the time. The number one thing I would say is, especially if you're hiring for an admin, and a lot of people are, like, it's always interesting to see how successful you will be before you'll hire an admin, even though admins are like the bedrock of any ADHD business. But the first thing you want to do is you actually want to generally ask people for a video or something along those lines, because sometimes we can get into a place where we don't want to look at all of the job ads because it's very boring, confusing, etc. So we'll just pick the top person that looks good and we'll say that we looked at all of them, but we didn't. And so what I ask people to do is I ask them to provide a video of themselves sharing what they're doing and why they want to join the business. You get a lot of information in those videos. You also find out if somebody is willing to do something that's just a couple of minutes. And if they're not, it's usually not a good sign in terms of their ability to work with you, because you're going to come up with some interesting ideas. And sometimes those interesting ideas are going to be important and you're going to have to do them in 2 weeks. So, like that is kind of the energy that we need. So you can watch those, over a lunch break, get some food, sit down, watch them like a movie, and then you can make a decision on your top 3. Then, and this is not something that just comes from me, a lot of business owners swear by this, you have to do test projects. You can't hire the best person. I actually don't do interviews at all anymore because I just don't find them helpful. If I like somebody's resume and I've watched their video and I think they're a good fit, I will just give them a 1-hour test project. And crucially, and now obviously my team gives them 1-hour test projects. I don't do that anymore. But when I was starting, that's what I was doing. And crucially, it's something that I actually need done. It's not made up. It's something like really complicated email that I'm not sure how to respond to. I'll just take out the identifying information and say, could you respond to this? Like, what would you say? Especially if they're in an admin role, like how are they going to deal with this? How are they going to figure it out? If I need some more research on podcasts, like background research on people, putting together a presentation for the next podcast interview, I'll give them information. I'll say, hey, I'm looking to, write a script for this podcast. This is what I'm doing. And it's not massively detailed because I want to see how they think on their feet. And then I'll give them that job. So I actually hand off jobs that I need doing, because that's the whole point. If you don't have any jobs that need doing, why are you hiring this person? And then once I've had a couple of people do a couple of test projects, that I get a really good sense of what people are like. And then from there, I do some more test projects. Nothing wrong with it. Do another test project. I pay everyone for test projects, just so everyone is clear on that. Like, you pay you whatever rate is the rate that you're doing. So for people, they're like, well, I'm in the business of, I'm currently looking for jobs, and at the same time, this person is paying me for an hour here and an hour there at the rate that I want, which is cool. And then usually that it will very naturally turn into a thing. You'll find somebody who's like really nailing what you're looking for. You just communicate really well together. They understand what you're saying, even though you haven't spent hours writing an email that's 100% accurate, because we don't have time for that. We're never going to have time for that. And you will be like, oh my gosh, I have to hire this person. And that's how it starts.
Yeah, fantastic. And that was my question was, do you pay the people? So that's great.
Yes.
Because, and that you're also not making up something for them to do. That is actually a legitimate thing that you need to.
No, it's not one of those weird, like, come in and we'll make you do like a numerology test or something like that. It's not. It's actually a job. It's like, we just do it piecemeal at the beginning. And honestly, it saves hours of everybody's time, because if you were to hire somebody, I mean, before I did this, before I built out these strategies in the early days, I'm sure we've all had this experience where you hire somebody, you think they're going to be great, you onboard them, you train them, they spend an age trying to figure out how to get access to your Google server, and then it's not a fit. And then that's a waste of everybody's time.
Yeah, absolutely. Another question I have is that I know that you said this when you started working with your coach, that you were really playing small. And I think so many of us also, we might have amazing skills and be really good and things that other people can see, but we still underprice and undervalue our services.
Yeah, you are not, whoever you are, you're charging too little. I can pretty much tell you this at this point.
And so how do you, get people to realize that, and then to not be afraid to take that next leap? Because I think also I know for myself, I'm like, oh, I want to help everybody. Well, you can't do that effectively, right? So
I think that's where being part of a community really comes into it. So when you're working with me, you're part of a community of other entrepreneurs who struggle with ADHD symptoms. And that gives you confidence nothing else can give you. I've seen so much growth in terms of people's confidence. So when we meet, and we'll meet, once a week, often what I teach is very, very practical. So we don't do a lot of like I talk and everybody falls asleep. Like, we're not doing that. So for example, 2 weeks ago, I always teach on like getting your time back, focusing, or growing your revenue. So when we have a growing your revenue session, it's like, okay, what can we do to grow your revenue? And so if we're talking about pricing, we'll actually change your pricing in the call. Like, we have those conversations. We chat about it. People encourage other people. We work collaboratively, and we will actually fix your pricing on the call. 2 weeks ago, we were talking about sending direct emails to your client list. A lot of people don't do that. Just like, hey, by the way, I sell this thing. Do you want it? And people don't do that. And everybody, by the end of the call, everybody had done one. And by the end of the week, a ton of people were like, oh, well, now I know how to do this. I do a few more. I got some positive responses, and now they're making money. So it really is, in terms of that confidence, it's about, and this is what a lot of people will say about working with me. Yes, we will teach you the playbooks. We'll teach you the systems. We'll teach you about when to know when to increase your price, how to increase your price, how to have those sales conversations, all of that stuff. But we'll also literally sit with you while you do it as a community. Yeah. We'll work through it together. And I think for a lot of people with ADHD symptoms, that is the missing piece, because 100%. We all know, but it's the implementation.
Yeah. So key. So important. And that also helps with the prioritization and making sure you're doing what's important to drive your business forward instead of just throwing spaghetti at the wall. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So what is next for you? You have the podcast, you have your business. Do you have a book coming out? Do you see
I don't
yourself?
know if I'm allowed to say. I've got a few contracts that I'm signing, but yeah, I am writing a lot at the moment.
Okay, fantastic. Well, we'll have to have you back on when you can when we can talk about those things.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you think is really important for anybody listening to know, whether they are neurotypical and maybe they work with some people or that they might not have even known have ADHD, or the ADHD business owner or employee who's looking at just trying to make sure that they're swimming, with the stream, again, not against, and that they're able to perform and feel really centered and happy and see growth?
Yeah. Well, the number one thing I would say is you don't have to keep hitting that wall. Because a lot of times I'll hear people say, and this is honestly one of the biggest struggles people have, is they'll say, I just need to try harder. I just need to work harder. I can do it. I listened to David Goggins and he was like, do it. And I'm like, yeah. And then I like hit the wall and just like hit it really hard. And that can work for a short period of time, but ultimately it leads to crashing out or burning out. Like that is an inevitability. I have done it. A lot of people with ADHD have done it. So the key to understand here is that you're not helping yourself if you're doing it like that. You are allowed to say, I think I'm working about as hard as I can, because chances are you are, and I need new systems and strategies to do it more effectively. I don't just need to hit the wall harder, because that's just going to end up hurting you, hurting your business, hurting your family. And for so many people, that's the number one thing that I see that can stop them from growing, ironically, which is so sad because you're working so hard.
Yeah. I appreciate that. I appreciate this conversation. I'm looking forward to diving in to your podcast and putting that on my regular rotation.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, of course. Skye, what's the best source of truth for somebody to come and get all of the information, be able to, download things, book things, get the links to your podcast?
Well, if you want to get started with me, with what I teach, like I said, you can DM me on Instagram at Unconventional Organization. Just send me the message brand, and we will give you that 2-minute focus routine to help you get clarity to start. Otherwise, you can find me at the ADHD Skills Lab. That is my podcast where I teach strategies, research. We have amazing entrepreneurs coming on the podcast all the time talking about what they've done. So it's a really great time. And yeah, you can find me on YouTube, on Spotify, all of the different places there. And if you want to join my program, I do have, 60 spaces for the year and then we close up. So we are getting close to that, but definitely go ahead and reach out and apply and we'll see if you're a really good fit.
Fantastic. And I always ask one final question. Do you have a favorite quote, mantra, verse, poem, family motto?
Yes, I have one I've been using for many, many years now, both internally and externally with the team, which is we rise by lifting others.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, because I know this is also Saturday for you when we're recording this. So I appreciate you taking an early morning time to do our podcast. And I'm so grateful that you came on the show. I know we've been waiting a little bit to get you on. But everything always happens at the right time. And now is the right time for everybody else who, like me, is neurodivergent, has ADHD, is trying to figure out how to get to the next level and succeed, and to not make the mistakes maybe we've made in other businesses or in the past, and be able to clearly communicate what we need, right? And take those steps. This is the podcast for you. Listen to Skye's podcast. Everything will be in the show notes. And thank you for watching this episode or listening to it. I hope everybody has a beautiful day. And thank you again, Skye.
No worries.
Thanks for listening or watching to this episode of Your Brand Amplified. Don't forget to leave us a rating or review on your favorite podcast listening platform. And if you want to learn more, check us out at yourbrangamplified.com.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/PODKATZ13. Just go to Indeed.com/PODKATZ13 right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.